Hey everyone, imagine we have a table and it has a couple of rows. And for example, the first row or one of the rows has the available balance, in this case $800. And there is an input box, and inside we want to enter that amount that we want to transfer, for example, up to the available balance. And we want to test if we can enter the maximal available balance. Now, there are no test selectors on the cells or rows. There is an ID on the input element. So how do we read the available balance and enter it into the input box? Well, let's first find the row that contains the words available balance. Okay, so we want to find the row, not the smallest element, which would be the cell, but the row with it. And we want to, once we find it, we want to find the cell. And in this case, it could be the selector TD, right, which is this element. And we want to find the cell that contains the dollar sign. So first we find the big row, and then we find the cell. Okay, and whenever you write this, you can watch the Cypress run the test and confirm that you're finding the right elements, in this case the row and then the cell. So once we find the cell, we have to extract the dollar amount, convert it to a float number, and then use it to enter into the input box. So how do we do this? Well, we can invoke the jQuery method text. Now this will give us a string. Now if you're not sure what it gives you, open the DevTools and click on the command, and it shows that it yields this string value. Okay, well, once we have a string, we need to remove a dollar sign. So we can invoke, because we have a string as a subject, replace a dollar sign character with nothing. Again, if you're not sure what the test does, click on the invoke and it tells you this is what I had as a subject, and then I called replace method, and this is the string that I yielded to the next command. So now we can parse float on that subject, which gives us a number. And we can confirm that this number should be a number. And I like using assertions in my command chain because it prints the value right there. And if it's not a number, right, like for example, an, like if we don't replace this, then I can clearly see that this is wrong. Okay, well, it's not just a number, but I probably want to confirm some basics about that amount. Maybe I can use be.within assertion. So the smallest balance should be 0, and the largest maybe, let's say, 10,000. Right, kind of like sanity limits. Maybe the 0 should be invalid in this case, maybe between $1 and $10,000. Perfect. So anytime we get something from the page, we have to use then callback, and we'll get n right here. Now we can enter it into the input box, and we know its ID. So we'll get the input box by transfer ID. And once we get it, we're gonna type n there. Perfect. Now notice this test is kind of complicated and has to use the callback. And the only reason why the test in Cypress is complicated to write is because you don't know what you're testing. The test has to fetch the value from the page. Now this is bad because the page might not even render the value, like it could be completely wrong, right? It's much better to say, okay, I know the value. For example, I spy on a network call, or I control the data on the server. So in this case, this test would be written like this. Find the row contains a cell with 800, right? And then we get the transfer and we type 800. This is much better test, and the syntax just flows. For more examples like this, look at my Cypress examples website that I will link in the description of this video.